Hello LEGO fans, Bricks Unbound here with Building Hogwarts episode 30, which is going to be an overview of the progress so far. I'm trying to do those for every 10th update. So here we go. I actually got the room arranged so I could fit all of Hogwarts that's done so far in my LEGO room, which I wasn't completely sure was going to be doable. But I have the farthest end of the castle with the back of the Great Hall over there, all the way up to the bell towers on this end of the castle with a little bit of more space, which is good because there is like an outer wall that goes around here, but it comes all the way up to the side of where the city is currently pushed off to. I'll have to do a little bit of rearranging of the room as a whole probably in order to fit a couple more tables in. Maybe this weekend I'll work on doing some measurements and calculations to get that to work, but here it is in its entirety from this side for the progress so far. So as I said, down here are the bell towers. Then we come to the long gallery section, in front of which here and actually around the front of the bell towers as well, as long as I can get them to fit, is where the greenhouses will be. So I just have three students ready for some herbology sitting there. Next up, so the long gallery section has the Transfiguration classroom in it. The next floor up, so this level, has currently it just has the Muggle Studies classroom, and probably where I'll put History and Magic and maybe maybe Arithmancy. Some of the other classes you don't see as much of or at all in the movies, just because I want those in the castle somewhere because they are in the books, and that floor isn't nearly as tall as the one that Transfiguration is in right now. I did do a video looking at that. I'm not planning on pulling everything apart in this overview video. This is mainly for the exterior details. The other half of the long gallery is actually empty right now. I need to find room for several more things of Hogwarts, like the troll attack scene. So that's a possibility there. It's also a possibility by this next section, which has the Charms classroom on the bottom level and then the library from here up. But this is mirrored actually across on the other side of the castle. It will be once I get it built. So that section will also still need filling. The library might extend the full length of it, but I'll still have a floor underneath to put things in. So I was thinking that's another potential place for the troll scene, or another classroom, or like the trophy room. Things like that. So, and of course I still have a bunch more of the castle to build to fit everything in too. So I'm not super concerned for having interior space to fit things. As we come down from the library here, we come into I think it's called the Viaduct entranceway. Or entrance hall. I can't find a great name for it, but it's kind of this eastern section of Hogwarts that has this section with the 4 towers on each corner. And that right now is pretty empty. I think I'm going to put the staff room on this lower floor in one of these spaces. I can extend those spaces if I want. That's just kind of for initial spacing. The next floor up from that is actually where I'm going to put the Defense Against the Dark Arts classroom. Technically that's not where it is in the movies. It's not super clear where it's at in the movies, but I think it's supposed to be potentially even in some of the lower floors of the astronomy tower, but that tower switches what it is a couple times in the film, so they're not really consistent. But I think I'm going to put it here, mainly because I have this long line of windows, which I think will work out well for what you see when you look at the classroom. There's a bunch of windows along one wall. I'll try my hand at building like the dragon skeleton that hangs from the ceiling in there. So I'm looking forward to getting to work on that. I just need to get everything underneath it a little bit more built up first, but coming along nicely. I did get parts in, so these are the correct color now. Previous updates, these 1x2 plates that are rounded, as well as the 1x4 hinge pieces, were all mismatched of colors just with whatever had on hand. But I get some in to correct that. Still going to do a little bit of retexturing around the top part so it doesn't look quite as smooth, and obviously the other side of the tower still needs to be built up, and the roofs and the center section. But I am happy with how this part of the castle is looking so far. moving on from there, there's kind of the, I don't know if a moat is the right term, but there's the ravine that runs through the castle. In between that has the long viaduct bridge running over it. So that's what this represents. Obviously the height is not correct. It doesn't, the bridge is too tall for the castle, but the castle still needs to be elevated up on some rock work. So it'll end up matching up eventually, and I can always make this a little bit taller. The boathouse is in front of that, and it's not oversized to how it actually physically is to minifigure scale. I think it's actually pretty close to minifig scale. It is potentially oversized though for the space it needs to be in, because in the films this sits much lower than the rest of the castle. That would just require a ton of rock pieces, and there's actually a possibility that if I tried to put it up high enough that maybe not the Great Hall, but certainly the Grand Staircase Tower and the Astronomy Tower would actually not even fit in the room with the height of the ceiling. So I don't know if I'm going to downsize this a little bit. I don't really want to because I really like how it turned out. But we might have to do that. Everything is still in need of elevation too though, so we can see what it looks like once that is done. But I'm still pretty happy with how this part of the castle turned out. And then we have the entrance hall and entrance courtyard here. And I completely redid this section here from the last time we took a look at it. Previously, this lower archway was sticking out in front, which it just didn't look very good. So I actually had to shrink everything down, but I did move that back so it's in line with the upper archway there. The gap between here in the movies is pretty tall. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to pull that off because the top of this needs to line up with the Great Hall behind it. So this is probably pretty close to how it's going to end up looking. I still need the clock back behind it, and I'm missing some other pieces, but I narrowed that down quite a bit. I think the entrance itself, where Dumbledore is standing, used to be 10 studs of open space, and now it's down to 6. And behind him, you'll notice there is a door. So it was hard to find any good shots of this in the movie, but I don't think that door is really supposed to be there. But what it does is it kind of, obviously there's gaps up here that need fixing, but it actually covers up the fact that the ground level here, oh, Trelawney fell over. She was very sad about being kicked out by Umbridge, apparently. There we go. Anyway, so I guess I'll just call it the floor of the entrance courtyard is actually supposed to be pretty close, I think, film-wise, to the level of the entrance hall. But the level of the entrance hall floor is actually right about here. So that's quite a bit of a difference. And I considered moving the Great Hall just down, because right now that is, these windows is the level of the Great Hall, and then everything below that is the kitchens. I considered just moving the kitchens, putting them into like rockwork underneath the Great Hall, and that was okay. But then the windows wouldn't have really looked right in the Great Hall from the interior, and it doesn't really line up actually in the movies. They got movie magic to pull that off. So I'm just putting a door there, which actually opens up into the corridor that the kitchens are in, and the entrance hall is up here back behind those window pieces there. But from the exterior, I don't think it looks too bad, at least. So that's going to be the solution for the moment. I'll probably do some more work on that door. Obviously, there's a gap here now from where I shrunk things. So I'll just do a little bit of rebuilding for the upper roof section there. But that should hopefully pretty much resolve my problem of the height difference there. This is just a representation to help me remember that I need to put the little tower thing here. It's going to have, I think the Hufflepuff common room probably is going to be on the lower floors, and then, because it will also be a little bit lower down once I get the castle elevated. And Filch's office is going to be the upper section of it. Great Hall looks pretty much the same as it's always looked. I haven't done any big changes to any of this any of this build recently. It's still pretty massive. These tower heights have started to bother me a little bit more lately, so I might just shorten these towers on the ends a little bit, because the middle one is supposed to be much larger than them, and it just isn't right now. But still happy with how this is going. Please ignore just the array of random sets sitting here. And then we come to the grand staircase tower, which hasn't seen any work at all since the original update for this tower, unfortunately. But I'm still very happy with how it's looking, and at least I have a plan for how it's gonna go. It's just a matter of getting back to working on this section of the castle. And that pretty much does it for what is complete so far. We'll pan back over from this side. Yeah, big ugly gap underneath there. We can talk a little bit more about what's coming, not necessarily next, but eventually. So the Great Hall side of the castle obviously does not stop at the Grand Staircase Tower. There's a section of wall and rooms that comes off to the side here, and then it actually makes another courtyard in this general area. And then beyond that, there's the hospital wing, and then that actually ends up leading to the clock tower and its courtyard. That's just the official set, but again, setting over here to remind me that's about where it's going to go. So this section of the castle still needs to be done, and then there's actually bridges, more bridges that come across to get to this side. There's a stone bridge that connects actually into this tower, so I'm going to have to do a little bit of rebuilding on this one to attach that bridge. I'd forgotten about that, but now that I'm talking through it, there it is. And then there's, of course, the larger courtyard. I'm going to call it the Transfiguration Courtyard. It's by the Transfiguration Classroom, and that's what I'm going to call it. So there's also a courtyard that will be here in the space that doesn't have a table yet. Need to make my way to IKEA to get some more of these. But that courtyard will have another square of building around it. This side of the library is missing. It'll just be a mirror of the other side. The astronomy tower is in this courtyard, which is the tallest tower in the castle, so that'll be huge whenever I get to that. But quite a bit has been done, and then of course there's still like Hagrid's Hut and Quidditch Stadium, which are never going to fit into this room probably. But I still want to get those built, get some Forbidden Forest stuff. Maybe someday I'll be able to take all this to a convention of some kind to show it all off, set up in all of its glory. Or who knows, maybe I'll be able to just take over another room of the house for it. But that'll pretty much do it for this update. I hope you have enjoyed it, and we'll keep coming back for more. Let me know what you think about this so far, and I'll see you for the next update. Thank you for watching.